Welcome back to the channel. Here we have part 2 of the series with Dr. Alicia Shelly, physician, fitness enthusiast. Dr. Shelly will provide us life lessons from her perspective of a fitness enthusiast. This episode contains information about exercise and nutrition that's appropriate for Dr. Shelly. So please don't take this as a nutrition or training plan for yourself. Please make sure that you consult a professional for your unique needs. Thanks for being here and welcome back to the community.
And honestly, it probably means nothing. There's like more important things in the world that is going on right now.
You hit exactly where I think sometimes I don't sign up for races because of fear of performance anxiety and that performance anxiety, where does it come from? It comes from the expectation. Some of it's not even a very visualized expectation. It's just the sense that I'm going to fail. Like, you're not going to do well, don't sign up. But I finally signed up for a half marathon in October, which I know that will be right after you've got your full Ironman coming up. And with thinking about, you just did your half Ironman, you just did your triathlon again today, and then you've got your full Ironman coming up. And we just talked about the importance of training. Can you tell us how you train to make sure it optimizes your success in those?
Yes. So the first thing is I find that whenever I pay for a race, it helps me to be more consistent. Because if I don't pay, then I'm kind of waffling on whether I'm going to do it or not. And there's an expectation that I may not do it. So sometimes it shows in my preparation. So for the Ironman Chattanooga, this wasn't something that I had just willy-nilly thought about. I've been thinking about doing an Ironman for several years. And like I said, my inner critic Stella told me I couldn't do it, and I have to prove her wrong. And so also a couple of years ago there was a gentleman who had Down syndrome who completed his Ironman. And what was amazing to me was just the fact that they showed his calendar and how he was preparing for it and being
Wow.
consistent. And it made me think, well, if he can be consistent with his disability, what is stopping me from being that same being consistent and doing this? And so that's what kind of led me to eventually pull the trigger and put money down. So once I paid for it, I was like, I need to do everything possible to be successful. Now, mind you, I do run marathons, so it's not like I wasn't active, but I wasn't as great at riding a bike or swimming. Like like the last time I really swam was like as a kid. And so like I was the swim team for like one season.
Mhm.
So and like I said, I wasn't very athletic.
Yeah.
So a lot of this was like you're learning new tricks and new tools to help you to get better. And so I had to get a coach. I had to get a guide to kind of show me what to do because I've never done this before. And I did find that sometimes when I would run and I ran with the Atlanta track club, it helped me to be able to finish. So I joined the Atlanta Triathlon Club and got a coach there to get started. And so she has kind of led me to like, what you need to do every day to kind of help be successful. Mhm.
I love how many life lessons just came in there too, because I always hear the transformations in the transaction, and like how many times, especially as physicians, it's like hard if we offer services. What I've noticed is that it's hard to put money to our own value, but it's
Mhm.
easier to put money towards an experience. Value, monetary value to the experience. And I'm with you. And once the money, so I told you that I had a race that came to mind when I thought about, oh, I've learned a lot from not training. It was the marathon in San Diego, and I had bought the ticket. I had flown there. I was with my mom. I was like, oh well, no one actually would have cared if I didn't finish, but I would have. At mile 6, it was blazing hot, and I'm like, what did I do? Like, am I going to survive this? And just that whole commitment of like, I did this. And and the funny thing is that the life lesson sticks with me the most. I don't know what my time was at all. I just know I finished it and it was awful. And then
I have the medal. I have the medal.
I don't anymore. I recycle my medals because I run and just I don't know. I did them a long time ago, so I think maybe, and we could probably do a psychoanalysis of why I let them go because it was part of the identity I let go. I developed osteoporosis. So one thing I would love to know is how do you make sure that you're consuming enough to maintain your exercise?
Yeah. So it's a little bit difficult because I actually had bariatric surgery in 2015. So my stomach's already small and there's not much things that I can eat. I can eat regularly. It's just that I get full quickly.
Mm.
So I sit down for a meal, I eat a couple bites, I get full. I've learned to put my food, my fork down. If I'm at dinner, I'll just keep talking. And then when the food digests a little bit, I'll go back to eating. So what I do is especially to make sure I get enough calories, is that I actually like have smaller meals, but then I have them more frequently throughout the day. So I may start off with like a yogurt with a piece of fruit and a fig bar, especially if I'm swimming. Like if I'm swimming, I'm really eating a fig bar with a piece of fruit. And then when I get back to work, I'll eat my yogurt. And then lunchtime we'll have the salad with I'm also vegetarian. These things make it a little difficult. But I have like a higher protein salad, and then I have a snack in the afternoon, and then I eat dinner. Usually, with the training currently, so that's about 5 meals. Now that I think about it, it's like five, mini meals throughout the day. I also make sure I'm getting my water in, so at least 64 ounces. So I have a system because as a physician, you're having to wear a mask, and one of the obstacles that I had was that I would drink water if I wasn't drinking if I had a mask because I'd come in, type up after seeing the patient, type up the note, drink a glass of a sip of water, and then move on. But with the mask on, it doesn't seem like a lot, but I have to take the mask off. Then I have to drink the water, and so needless to say, I realized that I was not getting enough water in. So at the end of the day, I was like, why are my veins popping out of my skin?
Mm.
So I've kind of had like a different way of making sure I get my water in throughout the day. So it does add up. I haven't been recording my calories. I need to just so that I can actually make sure I'm getting enough. But by eating the small meals, it allows me, number one, not to be hungry. But then number two, I'm still getting the calories in, especially since I'm burning multiple calories, because I exercise usually twice a day. Some days are just once, and on the weekends they're usually long training days. So it's just trying to make sure I get the calories in. Now, when I'm training, I do have like nutrition. So I do have like the different blocks, the gels, the jelly beans, and then every, few miles, I'm eating because I don't, first of all, I don't want to get too tired. Secondly, cramps are horrible and I need the electrolytes. So I'm always replenishing. I'm always replenishing. And then eventually I'm actually going to sit down with a nutritionist. Probably should have done that earlier, but hindsight is always 2020, but
Yeah.
it would be good to get some professional opinion on what I should do, and to make sure I'm getting enough.
I have a smart because hindsight's 2020 is, and the cramping. My first marathon was my fastest, by the way. My first
Mhm.
was the fastest, and I had a coach because I was on cross country team in my college. So I certainly think it was much more fun. And then you have your track community, right? It's like I think that made it. Even though I love to run solo, it's like the accountability, and I think having them nearby made it go by so much faster.
Yeah. It's good when you run with the group, like people. Mhm.
Yeah,
Make
even
it easier.
yeah. And I remember my first race, I had never tried those goos before, so it was just like a life learning lesson, like try your nutrition before the actual race. Because I tried
Yes.
it, I cramped for the first 11 miles, and then at mile 23, I cramped so bad I pulled a muscle, and so I ran the last miles completely bent over, and like we do this to ourselves, and then we come on and we tell people our mistakes so that they don't repeat them. They'll make their own mistakes, but I think in like the nutrition question with, well, why would someone develop osteoporosis? They're under fueling for prolonged periods of time with chronically training too much for their nutrition state. But if we can optimize energy expenditure with appropriate nutrition, we can reduce risk for injury, osteoporosis, amenorrhea. And I know hypothalamic amenorrhea, it has thankfully it's been talked a lot now, more recently. But I feel like that was the one thing as an athlete I wish I would have known a while
Oh,
ago. And at the time, I don't think the knowledge was going to spare me of the eating disorder behaviors that I had. But just for people that are thinking that lack of period during training is a positive thing, like to just say, no, actually, it's a red flag that you need to increase your nutrition
mhm.
or decrease your mileage or.
Yeah, you have to have that balance, like you said. It's so funny. I'm still learning the cramping thing. The funny thing is for my Ironman half.
Yeah.
Now, usually I take like the noon type electrolyte tablets in my water, and it kind of helps with fueling me. The Ironman half was extremely hot. And so for the 13 miles, I was doing really well because I had a little, they allow you to wear a water reserve where you can have it on your back and you just swip while you're running. But what happened was I ran out of that and it had my electrolytes in it and I had no electrolytes left. And
Mm,
so I was basically at the will of the organizer who had some Powerade and some water, but it was only like a really small thing of Powerade. It was really hot.
yeah.
So so the last like 3 miles, my feet were like
Mm.
I have pins in my feet and I've never felt my feet move over
Oh
like
my
this.
gosh.
I was I was dragging my foot, but I'm like, gosh darn you, we will get to the finish.
This is
So
so
you're absolutely
funny.
right. Balance is
Yeah.
important. I'm
Everybody
sorry.
that's a runner or that
Mhm.
has done this will be like, yeah, they can relate. Everybody else, I imagine, is like, why did they do this? But isn't that until it's kind of like, I always think you're surrounded by people that are pushing themselves. And then I notice it's a very supportive community, especially when misery loves company, but like it's the good type of pain. And it's really can become a meditative process when you're training if you allow it to be. And how have you noticed that your exercise routine has impacted your work and like prevention or recovery from any burnout that you might have experienced in the past or experiencing currently?
Oh yeah. Before I answer that question, I just want to say you're absolutely right. The running community, like when I was having that cramp, many people were like, "Are you okay? Can I give you something?" So the running community is so supportive. Even just something like, "You're doing good. Is this what you need to hear?" While you're going through it. And it's a small thing. She's like, "You're looking strong." I'm like, "Thank you. Somebody, I need, I need this encouragement." So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I love the running community. I really do. But this
Let me
definitely.
translate this to medicine. Just like, please, yes, you're doing great. Not like you are horrible. I can't. Like, you're gonna fail. And like, everyone's like giving you the push and the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, so it's funny. I'm just thinking back. We often hear medicine in training, and just medicine is a marathon, right? And I actually compared training for medicine and what it looks like to train well compared to what's actually happening, like the dichotomy of like, yes, it's a marathon and we're all training wrong when it comes to medicine. But just like I just like, oh, it's so funny when we're thinking about even, oh, I'm really struggling, you can do it, you're looking great, versus, oh, I'm really struggling, yeah, you should probably quit now, you're never going to surmise anything.
And it is funny, but it would be funny if somebody said that. I'd be like, "You're kidding me, really?" But no one, like you said, everyone's so supportive. They're always working you through. They're always trying to cheer you up. And to answer your other question, so the funny thing is that sometimes through work, I've gone through burnout. Like, you would think a primary care doctor, you work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5:30, and you would think that you wouldn't burn out, but sometimes it can be overwhelming and you just get behind and the burnout comes because once again, a lot of it is your thoughts, your mindset. I put, if I don't review somebody's labs like, within a day, I think, oh, I'm a bad doctor, but it's not the case. And so a lot of times with the exercise, it allows me to be able to kind of take some of that stress off. so that I'm able to kind of come refreshed, being recovered, shall we say, mentally, and be able to get that job and kind of, get to work and be able to help people and still be able to not feel like I'm a bad doctor because I can't fulfill this particular task, or at least not at the moment. I don't get me wrong, I do my work, but it's just that sometimes in your mind it kind of takes you to that place. Stella, my inner critic, keeps
Mhm.
coming back.
I'm gonna have to name anyone here that hasn't named their inner critic really does. I really value this opportunity to name the inner critic because even for me, the last year, I noticed I carried with me some beliefs from residency, which was like I don't have enough time to do this training. So immediately, like I grieved the loss of my marathoning identity in intern year. And then I was like, why did I have? I mean, maybe intern year, maybe there was some justification. I mean, I woke up at crazy hours in order to run, and at some point, it really became unhealthy to get up and never sleep. But then in your current day to day, I'm thinking that people might resonate with the fact that they don't feel that they can prioritize their exercise because they're too busy or other priorities are taking the precedent. Can you share with us how you've been able to do that in your own life?
Yeah, so a lot of times it's just giving yourself grace. And I always have to kind of remind myself of this because, like I said, the lady has given me a task that I need to do. And some days it just does not work out. I'm not able to like either do the run that day or I did one and not the other. And initially I was beating myself up. But then, and actually what I was doing, I was beating myself up and then I was doubling the next day to try to get it in. But then,
Common. Yes, definitely
and
common. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, it's like I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I have to be able to, to finish this Ironman. But then it was my swim coach that was like, if you miss a session, don't double up. You just missed it. Just make sure you get the next session. And a lot of times, we're so busy. We've got a lot going on, and things happen. We may have a project at work. The kids may have something that they need to do, and we have to be there, and we get discouraged because we just didn't have the time that day. Don't fret, give yourself some grace, forgive, and don't beat yourself up, and then hit it the next day. Um because a lot of times, it's just that one day you missed, but in our mind we're like, well, we missed one day, then we're just gonna like get off track the whole rest of the way, and we're just, we just kind of do the snowball effect where it's
Yeah.
just the worst thing ever, when actually you just missed a day.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Give yourself grace, give yourself balance. You can always maybe add on another exercise or activity or running activity, another day that in the week. So just give yourself grace is kind of what I continue to remind myself because I still get back in that.
Yes. Yeah.
I think for me, mindset is everything. And so even with the Ironman 70/30, I was doing it and I'm like, can't believe I'm doing this. So
Yeah.
it's just always important to kind of have, fuel your mind with positive, encouraging thoughts.
Mhm.
And don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of the next video with Dr. Shelley. Until next time.